Hi, welcome. Today I'm talking about something that happened years ago when my children were younger. I was a young Christian really, just a couple of years, and I used to go out a lot for Jesus. I remember at this time I was saying to the Lord, my children are getting old, especially the two older ones. They were teenagers and my oldest child was coming to the end of high school. And my husband were between jobs, we had no money, we was on the social. So one in a holiday before they left home and the boys got too old to want to come on holiday with us, I prayed about it and I said, Lord, I'd love to go on holiday with the children, etc., like I just said. And he answers our heart's desires, because he did answer. I'm so made up that I have that memory before, like I said, the boys grew and left home. I went to church one day and the Lord had someone come up to me and said, me and my wife have been putting some money to the side and the Lord led me to give it you. And I said, oh, thank you. And he passes me an envelope and I didn't look in it, and I just put it in my bag actually, and when I got home I looked in it. It was hundreds of pounds and I was like, oh my word, like it was a crazy, like I think it was just under £700, which is a lot of money. And I'm there and I'm like, we're all excited, and I must admit at the time I had loads of needs. I had a long list of what I needed finances for, and we was actually just hit this 6 weeks holiday. And I remember going to prayer and I said, right, I asked the Lord what it's for, and I had uniforms on my mind. And I went to prayer and the Lord said, it's for you to go on holiday as a family. And then the prayer that I said some months before come back to me. And I said, but Lord, I need uniforms and that lot. I mean, it's crazy that I said that, but I did. And he said, don't worry, these funds are for you to go on holiday. So that's what I did. I booked a holiday near the end of the 6 weeks holiday to Pontins. And the kids were excited, we were excited. I told people at church what the Lord has done for us. And on top of that, someone at church said, I'll use the church minibus and I'll take you and I'll pick you up. And that was such a blessing, because to get me and 4 kids and my husband and all the luggage and the food we'd need for the week, it was a lot. And I was thinking, oh, we'll have to get a taxi there and back and that will cost a fortune. But with that, God making a way and someone offering to take us in a minibus saved more money for spending money. And it was wonderful. We all went away as a full family. All the children enjoyed it. I've got photographs to remind me of them smiling, and they go on the sand dunes with their dad while I were making dinner. We go to the shores and everything, and swimming in the day, everything that you do at Pontins, and it was lovely. I remember really taking in the children's faces on that holiday. But I do remember feeling so loved and provided for from our Father, and I just thought, like, wow, we say our prayers and we ask the impossible for us at that time in our lives, but it's not impossible for God. It's not impossible for God to make a way. That holiday was such a lovely time to look back on, but I also felt like to say, anything that you need, pray about it. And even when you forget, he doesn't. He remembered. I didn't really first think of a holiday when I saw the money, but God did. He knew what I'd prayed for, and everything went smoothly, and it was just wonderful. And there were so many small prayers answered along the way too, which are just significant as the big prayers, because any prayer answered by Jesus is just wonderful, because we're looked after, we're provided for, he's our provider, he when we trust in him, he'll move. And there's so many other things that I will share along the way, but that one was, there was nothing impossible for God. We say that and we read about that, but there is nothing impossible. And so if it's a holiday, or if it's a need for food, or if it's a need, no matter how big your need is and how small your need is, ask him. And if it's in his will, and he makes a way, the time is irrelevant. He'll bring it around that it will happen. And just before I wrap this video up, there was another thing that I asked for in the early days of being saved. I said, Lord, I haven't saved any money and I didn't have any money to save. But the children was like dating the two older ones, and I said, Lord, when my children marry, I really would love them to have white weddings. I'd love them to have, all the bells and whistles, the meals, the cars, all the suits, and everything that you need for a wedding. And I said, Lord, could you make a way? Could you make that they will have white weddings? Well, I'm here to say, 2 of my children are married now, my 2 oldest sons, and they had white weddings. Yes, the bride's families paid for them majoritarily because we didn't have the money to be fine. But I remember sitting there in church at my second son who got married wedding, and the Lord reminded me of that ask. It doesn't matter how he answers, but it was answered. The other side were in the position, and it was all the white weddings, all the bells and whistles, and it was lovely. And I remember feeling like so much gratitude, so much that I was able to see my children get married without any need, any want, and that's a blessing to a parent. And God, our Father, looked out for me and made it so. And it's wonderful that God goes before us, He makes a way, and He reminds us even when we forget what we have prayed for. So keep on praying, keep taking every burden, every need, every heart desire to Him, and trust Him that it'll turn round if it's according to His will to answer. So till next time, remember you are loved, Jesus is with you, He's for you, and He's with you. Seek Him, take every need to Him in the mighty name of Jesus. Till next time, bye.